Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'll be back.
I'll have what she's having.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Here's looking at you, kid.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello, I'm your host Jim McLean. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a spoilerific movie review podcast brought to you by Banterflix, cinematic discussion, dear listener, with a Northern Irish accent. So once again, we are casting our cinematic eye over another release. My co-host on this week's pod, no, it's not Adam What's Happening Neeson, he's still in Florida. It's the Arspert himself, one half of Banterflix's Sleuth Sisters. It's Joe McElroy.
Hello.
Joe, how are you? How's your week been?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, it's been a good week. Been full of watching movies and the usual
football.
stuff.
You mentioned football.
And the football.
Yeah, you mentioned the football just as we came in, so I thought, well, as well, we could cross the streams and become a
not
football
here. We can talk about football now.
Do you think Adam has any interest in football?
I don't think so.
I would love... Because I've started rewatching the IT Crowd on Disney Plus, I think he just is Moss from the IT Crowd, and he just has that little app. Did you see that ludicrous display last night?
Yeah. I think he would have that attitude when it comes to it. Like, I think his interest in football extends no further than Escape from Victory.
Yes,
that's about it.
Maybe Goal.
Oh, Goal. I forgot about Goal. Wasn't that a trilogy?
Yeah, it was a trilogy. There was Goal, the first one, where he comes to everyone's boyhood dream. He goes to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Then he goes to Real Madrid.
Yes.
And then he goes I can't
the
remember.
MLS, is it?
He goes
the
to
American?
He goes to the MLS, I think, but he also goes to the World Cup.
Ah, of course, yes.
I can't remember if Mexico won the World Cup.
Yeah. Or even a bit of Green Street. There you go.
Yeah, I could see.
Football Factory.
Yeah, Adams as a boy who... He always gets annoyed when I mention as a boy from East Belfast. And then it's like, well, where did you come from? It's like, well, actually from the Ormeau Road. It's like, well, it's not that fucking far.
Nah.
But as someone who currently lives in East Belfast, I know he knows all about what the hoods are up to.
Oh, he has to keep himself right.
Joe, just because we're on this topic, right, I want to know, because everyone knows you as the Arspert. He knows you as everybody, your own family going, there he is, over Christmas. There's the Arspert himself. Catherine's like, well, Joe, what do you think of that arse? Well, it doesn't really relate to Arnie in his peak kind of commando era.
Yeah, the curvature isn't there anymore.
Yeah. But just because we're mentioning football, you do love a bit of Celtic.
I do.
So what is... Because I'm imagining in my head, I don't think we've ever actually sat and watched a football match together.
No, I haven't. I think like maybe once or twice it was on the background if we were out somewhere, but that's about the height of it.
I'm not sure, but I am imagining in my head you out, full face paint. Are you going? Are you one of these kind of? Are you full kit?
No.
Have you ever done a full kit?
Jim, I'm the kind of person who is terrified to even like wear green around my street. So I'm watching the games in my room on my laptop, and then when they score, I'm like, yay. Just the most feeble celebrations.
Are you just worried that someone's just going to turn around somewhere where you live in Belfast? Well, not say exactly where. Be like, here, fuck, there's a fella like in Celtic there.
Well, Jim, put it this way, there's a bar around the corner that is affiliated with certain groups that I would not be welcome in, so yeah.
The Knee Breakers.
Yeah, you could say it's like the Knee Breakers.
Did you hear someone supporting Celtic?
It'd be Fina now down the road.
We don't need Adam Neeson for impressions, but I thought since we are missing Adam, and I don't know, I'm going to find out, I guess. We heard from his last voice note on the previous Nosferatu pod, where he was having problems at the park.
I hope he hasn't gone through all of his shit himself underwear, because we all do that. You know, we're going holiday. You have your underwear for each day, and then you have the extra shit yourself pairs. That's a normal thing, right? And
an extra pair of socks, just in case you go to facilities and they've no toilet paper, and you've got to be like a trained SAS commander. Yeah. And you have to be like, oh fuck, there's no toilet roll, there's nothing here for me to clean myself with. Not even if you're feeling the dirtiest of dirt, and you look down. Well, I'm sure, Joe, right? Yeah. This is gonna give you an interesting insight into my psyche, where you've been at the dirtiest of the dirt, and you've looked at there's always like a little bin, wee small bin in toilet
the sanitary
facilities.
bins,
Yeah, well, no, not the sanitary bins. That's going too far. But sometimes you see, particularly in some places, there will be a small bin. There will be a sanitary bin as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of the undiscovered country for me yet. I'm not peeking in there. But in a wee half bin, wee small bin, sometimes, like, I'm going to assume it's ladies. I know that's very sexist of me. Maybe have, like, maybe I got tissues that sometimes in toilets and maybe fixed their lipstick or something like that. And sometimes there's a wee tissue just sitting there and you're just like, I'm going to have to use this. But sometimes, and I'm going to say this story because it was not me. It was a place I used to work that I know sadly now I think has largely went into administration across the UK. A former boss there talked about he was in a situation in Victoria Square. He was out shopping with his lovely wife. And I'll not name him, but he was a former police officer. He was in the army for a while. And he went to the Victoria Square toilets, done the aforementioned deed, had that moment of panic where no toilet paper, tried to phone his lovely wife who was shopping somewhere. Can you go get me toilet paper? Can you get me toilet paper? She wasn't picking up. And I was like, so what you do? He said, Jim, the army training kicked in. Threw off the shoes, got off the socks, used them, chucked them in the bin.
You know what? That's clever thinking. Although he should have resorted to the demolition man method. 3 she sails. No one knows how to use them, but like they're there. But you know what? If it was desperate enough, you kind of would though.
I have been desperate enough, as I mentioned, the little kind of half bin. Not the sanitary bin, just to clarify, listener. Sometimes you'll find like, oh, there's a wee tissue paper. It's like, oh. And I will have a look at it first, just to make sure there's nothing rank on it. And I'll be like, that's okay. That'll do me to get home.
I'd probably go with the sock first, to be honest.
True. Okay.
You don't know what secrets lie within. But
anyway, we got distracted. Who needs Adam to go off on a tangent? Regular listeners, if you listen to the previous pod, Adam seems to be having a ball, but he has had an incident at the park, and it's not Dennis Nedry is not involved.
You make it sound like Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So here we go.
Okay.
Here is Adam Neeson from Florida.
Hello, boys, girls, and everybody listening in the old Banterflix universe. Jim and Joe, I love you both, and can't wait to smell your beards. I know this week you were talking about A Real Pain and BB Girl. A Real Pain had tickets to go see at the Belfast Film Festival, and then the night of preferred to go to sleep. Not that I'm not excited for A Real Pain. It's just that, you know, when you got a nap, you got a nap. But it does look great. I'm always up for 2 neurotic Jewish boys traveling together, arguing the whole time. It's sort of like The Trip with Coogan and Bryden, but probably less impressions. And then Baby Girl, I don't think I'll get to see it in the cinema, which is probably best, because, you know, touching myself the whole time. But just a quick update on last week. Haven't seen Nosferatu yet. Tried multiple times, but I've been busy. I've been to the top of Everest, been to the bottom of the sea, been to space a few times. I got hugged by a Wookiee and I've been kissed by a mouse. But having a great time. Last voice note I sent over, I talked about watching Ace Ventura on TV, and the TV version of Ace Ventura actually cuts out all of the homophobic stuff at the end, which is good, but then also doesn't make any sense when it comes to the plot, because you don't really understand why the police captain is, you know, thrown into the water at the end and arrested. Haven't watched any other movies, really. Did go to a Hulk Hogan wrestling store, which I thought would have been, you know, just wrestling in general. But stupid me for not thinking of Hulk Hogan's hubris. As we walked in, and the shelves were full of Hulk Hogan merchandise, as if it hadn't been touched. The people that worked there clearly didn't have the restock very much. because nobody was buying any of that shit. There was statues of him as Thunderlips, and they were playing Rocky 3, just his section. No Mr. Nanny merch, which was upsetting. Would have enjoyed that. But yeah, so be home soon, and then hopefully we'll see some spookiness on the big screen. Looking forward to The Wolfman. I've unfortunately seen the TV spots over here where they show who the Wolfman is or what he looks like, but hopefully that won't upset, the viewing experience. Weirdly, still haven't seen what Bill Skarsgård looks like in Nosferatu. Sort of magically avoided that. But I know there's a lot of talk of him balking in it. So, sort of on the, I need to see that list. Anyway, have a good chill, boys, and I'll see you soon. And I love you. And, bye bye. Love you. Bye, 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 bye.
Oh, miss Adam.
That was a nice wee one.
I like the fact that he went into a Hulk Hogan store.
Yes, he actually sent us pictures of it in the Fright Club group, and it's terrifying. One of the pictures is basically him pointing to the Hulkster's junk in his wee yellow drawers, and the Thunderlips statue, it looks terrifying. I'll show you it after we record, but why have that kind of store?
Why not when you're Hulk Hogan? I'm also disappointed he didn't mention, I'm pretty certain that's a Hulk Hogan movie, Suburban Commando.
Oh yeah, Suburban Commando.
I remember going to see it in the cinema.
Did you ever watch Thunder in Paradise?
Yeah.
The car, David Hasselhoff, Knight Rider?
Yeah.
Yeah, Knight Rider rip-off, only in a boat.
Yeah, and there was always, what's the joke in The Simpsons?
Oh, Night Boat.
Yeah. No,
there's always a fjord or something.
There's always a fjord. Anyway, yes. So Adam mentioned a few things there. Yes, listen back to our previous pod where we talked about Nosferatu, all that kind of stuff. I think yourself, me and Anita were very, very positive about it. Mm-hmm. And we also talked about some of our other vampire movies as well. As I say, go back and listen to that pod. Just before we started to record, I know we're going to talk about A Real Pain. And just because Adam has mentioned it, we'd actually made a executive decision not to talk about Baby Girl. But we'll mention it briefly because I went to say you haven't seen Baby Girl yet.
No, I haven't had a chance.
Like Adam, you're not prepared to sit in a cinema and watch Nicole Kidman act out all my George Galloway fantasies.
No, but it sounds like a lot of fun.
So it was a lot of fun. You've that brief kind of little review from me to hear on that. But yes, let's move on. So Jesse Eisenberg's second directorial offering, A Real Pain. I haven't seen his first feature. He is teaming up with Kieran Culkin. I have to admit, I'm going to say this right from the get-go because I know a couple of people I've discussed this at work have talked about being a huge fan of him in Succession. Have you seen Succession?
Oh yeah, I love Succession.
Okay, I have still to kind of go down that deep dive. So my experience of Kieran Culkin is his very brief appearances in the Home Alone movies and one of my favourite LGBTQ plus characters in Scott Pilgrim Must Die, which I adore. I adore his character and adore the relationship that he has with Scott in that film. So, of course, Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, they are playing two cousins who are off to Poland to discuss the history, World War II, what happened to the Jewish people. They visit a concentration camp, very powerful sequence in the film. And, it was screened at the Belfast Film Festival last year. It's out in cinemas now. I got sent a screener when it was screened at Belfast. I think, and I'm nearly certain about this, I know Adam mentioned the Belfast Film Festival, that he missed that screening, but I know and I think he alluded to that, he was very, very excited about this film. And I know it has been named on a couple of film critics' films of 2024. So looking forward to watching it. You, like me, saw it on screener as well?
Yeah, that's right. I think it was only in like a few cinemas at like awkward times at the minute. But I think what might happen with it is what the QFT did last year is when you get into award season, they randomly show these films, so it's one to maybe keep an eye out for.
I think this will feature, I think, Kieran Culkin.
He's been winning everything flat out.
He won the Golden Globes.
Yes.
He won at the Golden Globes, but no one really cares about the Golden Globes.
Nah, not really.
Because you have
Well, except for Demi Moore winning. That was lovely to see.
It was in everyone's favourite comedy, The Substance.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Musical
You know what?
and comedy.
That's a nonsense in and of itself because it's a horror. Yes, it's comedic elements, but it's a horror film.
It's a horror film. And I'm not a fan of the Golden Globes because I know I came into work and there was some, did you watch the Golden Globes? We're going to talk about that. It's like, I give zero fucks. It's great that Demi Moore got not just nominated but took home the award. But it's just like, it's the fact that you've just widened the categories so you can get more celebs to your event. And yeah, The Substance is not a comedy.
You know what? Something that actually rubbed me up the wrong way was how Adam Pearson wasn't invited. You're the guy from Different Man. Yet people who weren't even, like The Rock's there. Like, what was The Rock in this year that would have, Red one? Was Red one nominated for anything?
He was just peeing. He was just there peeing in the background into bottles.
I suppose.
Here, you going to drink that, Lucasade? Give us that bottle here. But
yeah.
I know we're on the Golden Globes, and I know we're going to talk about the movie, but have you seen any of the clips of the host this year? I thought she did a rather good job.
I didn't actually, funny enough. I don't even know who she is, to be perfectly honest. Is she a comedian or...?
So it was Nikki Glaser this year, if I'm getting that right. She was host. I'm not familiar with her as a stand-up comedian.
Oh, okay.
But I thought she had a couple of good zinger lines. Maybe not on the level of Ricky Gervais, who I adore. We had Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. Because that's one thing, everyone always talks about the Golden Globes. They always get the host right. But, hey, Adam and I have said in a previous pod... the Oscars this year, and I know with everything that's going on with the wildfires at the minute that it's probably the last thing on a lot of people's mind. But the fact that Conan O'Brien is hosting, I am so excited. I have booked the date, that Monday off. I've booked it off so I can just sit up and watch. Because I haven't sat up to watch the Oscars for a while. Because
they finally got it right with a host. You know, someone that everyone loves, is genuinely funny and is going to do a great show.
I don't mind Jimmy Kimmel.
I do.
I don't. I think he's okay.
He grates on me too much.
Really?
Oh wait, no, sorry. I'm getting him mixed up with Jimmy Fallon.
Yes.
Sorry.
Jimmy Fallon can fuck away off. Jimmy Fallon thinks he's funny.
No, you're right. Jimmy Kimmel's all right. Yeah, sorry.
There's some bits with Jimmy Fallon. He is. I think Jimmy Fallon in some skits from Saturday Night Live, another movie about Saturday Night Live and its debut we're going to be talking about in a couple of weeks. Hoping to get someone who's got a bit of stand-up experience to come on and join us for that pod. But, I would not tune in for Jimmy Fallon.
No, I'd be like, instant turn off. Like,
no, but Jimmy Kimmel, I think he's a safe pair of hands. He did okay. But Conan O'Brien, I know he's going to knock it out of the park.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not even a case of like building him up. I just know he's just going to knock it out. But anyway, we're not talking about that. But I know the nominations have been delayed because of the wildfires. We will find out. I would be very surprised if Kieran Culkin was not nominated for Real Pain. We're going to discuss the movie now, but before you hear our thoughts on the film, let's play a clip.
You know, Grandma never pitied herself. In fact, she always told me she was grateful for her struggle.
Well, that's just it. What she endured, that gave her hope, right?
Yes, in fact, she used to tell me that, first-generation immigrants work some, menial job. You know, they drive cabs, they deliver food. Second generation, they go to good schools, and they become, a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And the third generation lives in their mother's basement and smokes pot all day. I mean...
She said that?
I think she was, just speaking... generally about the immigrant experience.
I lived in my mom's basement.
She was just talking about immigrants.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. I got to pee. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll get that. Don't worry. PB time.
So that's a clip of A Real Pain. It's out in cinemas now, but as you've mentioned, Joe, it is getting a limited release right now. It might be something that you eventually find on VOD or possibly, as you've mentioned, Mr. McElroy, closer to awards season or possibly post-awards season, when people want to see these films that everyone's talking about, you might get a chance to see it. I don't know, beyond Belfast Film Festival, was it screened at the QFT?
I don't think it was, to be honest.
Because I know
with
it's limited. It's got 2 screens.
It's fallen in an awkward time, award season. There's a lot of stuff out.
There's a lot of films out there. But anyway, we have both seen it. As we say, we got sent a screener post Belfast Film Festival. Joe, what did you think of the film?
Right, well, going into this, when you read the synopsis, like you've mentioned earlier, it's like 2 Jewish cousins going to their grandmother's homeland just to see, sort of pay tribute to her with a wee pilgrimage in a way, and like you said, they reflect upon the past, World War II, the Holocaust, and you read a synopsis like that and you're like, oh no, is this going to be like one of those typical Sundance dramedies where they're just alright, a bit mawkish, but thankfully this isn't the case with this here. I thought it was genuinely really funny at times, really bittersweet and moving at times, like you alluded to, that sequence when they visit the concentration camp, everything just comes to a halt, but in the best way possible. It's a very moving sequence. But I think it's his script that really is what makes the film. It's Eisenberg himself who writes it as well. He has turns in the dialogue that's unexpected, because Kieran Culkin's character is an unexpected character, because he's someone who's clearly suffered from mental health issues like depression and in the past, and you sort of don't know what way he's going to turn each scene, and that sort of that unpredictability is what makes that character. But it's not just that, it's how the layers of generational trauma weigh down on the both of them, and in different ways, because Jesse Eisenberg's character's sort of a neurotic introvert, while Kieran Culkin's much more of an extrovert, and there is that sort of odd couple dynamic between the two and how they play off each other, but there is that genuine love between them in the end. I think that's at that core of the film is what makes it really tick and really work, and why I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think there's a lot of things Jesse Eisenberg gets right, and I guess maybe, I'll share my thoughts on the film for a little bit and come back to him. I know there are people who do not like Jesse Eisenberg, that kind of sense, like the way he kind of speaks about 50,000 things all at once. People seem to have a big grudge against him for, accepting a job to be Lex Luthor for Zack Snyder. Don't get me talking about that. I am a fan of him as a performer, and from this I am very much a fan of him as a filmmaker. I really want to seek out his first feature. I don't believe, I could be wrong in this, it could be a Jim McClane, not just a half fact but a wrong fact. I don't think he's in front of the camera in his previous offering.
No, I think you're right.
Because I think I read somewhere he talked about it being really difficult to kind of be, because he's an actor. He's an artist, I guess, if you think a writer, director, performer, where he found it difficult to be just behind the stage, where it's the case like everyone's turning up early, they're getting on set, and he's like, I'm just standing behind the camera watching you. I think he's a very unfussy director. It's very straightforward. Hey, were you not rejoiced? Did your bladder not let out a scream, a squeal of your urine in delight at the fact that it's a 90-minute film?
Yeah, Jim, I'm not going to lie. See the second you open the screener and you hover over the thing and you see the runtime, you're like, 129. Yes.
Yeah, and like a good 3 minutes of that is credits.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're like, oh, okay, this is perfect. Really unfussy film. Reading about it, I always say, I'm sure you're all shocked listeners, I do limited bit of research for the films. He talks about drawing on his own experience, his own ancestry. He talks about his real life experience. He draws from his real life experiences. There's a character when they go on this guided tour across Poland, and they meet a character who's from Rwanda, who emigrated to the States and decided to convert to Judaism, and then is now, because of his experience in Rwanda, is interested and wants to know more about what happened to the Jewish people under the Nazi occupation of Poland. That's a real life friend that he has, that he was able to draw on. And I thought that worked really well, because you've got this little group, and because I know you've been you're a traveller. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you
Yeah.
and Catherine, you went to Japan. Was that a tour you guys arranged? Was that a guided tour?
Oh, here, Jim. It's a bit of a tangent.
Okay.
See, when it comes
Sorry.
to travel,
Ding.
yeah, ding ding. Right. See, when it comes to traveling or getaways or anything like that, that's Catherine's territory.
Okay.
I don't embark on it.
Okay.
I just accept it, and I'm like, yes.
You
dear.
show up to the airport.
Pretty much.
You're like the person that Ryanair really wants to get rid of. You're like, you can only have 2 pints at the airport, Mr. McElroy.
No, you know what? I don't drink before flying because I have a weak bladder as it is, so I try not to.
Yep.
I wait till I get there. But yes, see, when it comes to traveling, and everything, she arranges everything.
Okay.
And I'm like, what's the itinerary? Where are we going?
So is Catherine like organised? Just, I guess
She,
then-
she loves it. Like, it's no, make no mistake, it's not me just being a lazy so-and-so going, aye, woman will hand it.
But when Catherine's doing, I guess what I'm coming to is she organising herself or is she taking you on guided tours?
Oh, she's
Or a bit of
organised.
both?
She's organised. Yeah, basically it's like, you know, what do you want to see? What do I want to see? I'll mix it about and we'll see what we can do.
Sounds a bit like my lovely wife.
Aye, well, the thing is, right, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, so once we were in Tokyo, there's like that huge Godzilla statue over at Toho Cinema.
Be honest, when she said, do you want to go to Japan, you're like, as long as I get to see Godzilla.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was, you know what, see, you know what, we had a choice of two things. It was either go to Ghibli Land or Godzilla Park. But to be fair, Godzilla Park was on the other end of the country, whereas Ghibli Park was on the way. Plus, I want to get a nice mixture of things. I love Ghibli as it is, so I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's go to Ghibli. That's my compromise.
Next year, you go back, you're going to go to
You know what, she
Godzilla.
wants to go back tomorrow.
Okay.
You know, she's constantly like telling me like, oh, I've made rice for breakfast this morning and all that there. I was like, how? I barely cope with that for a week.
I microwaved it. Oh, that Uncle Ben.
No. Christmas, got her rice cooker because she wanted it. She wanted it. She put it top of her list, like, get me a rice cooker. It's like Dougal and Father Ted, get me Matador year. It's like, get me a rice cooker.
Joe, you know how to spoil the ladies.
You know what, Jim? Asking should receive, you know.
Catherine's a lucky lady. But,
She is.
yeah, because weirdly, I found a lot of this thing, when I was watching this film, there's a lot of things I related to.
Yeah.
So I have a cousin, my cousin Ben, who, as an only child, I had a close friendship with my oldest cousin, Ben, so I got that dynamic. Because I think it was an interesting choice to not have them as brothers.
Yes.
I think it's a very small thing he does, but it's a really clever thing because I think two brothers away would be very different because they are different people. They're like chalk and cheese. One, as you say, Kieran Culkin's character, he's quite loud, a brash. He has no filter. He will go up to characters and say, "What's up, what's up, loser? Why you fucking walking alone?" Curses a bit like my good self. While we have Jesse Eisenberg's character is much more neurotic. He's married. He has a young daughter, a young son. I'm not quite certain. It's been a while since I watched the film at home. He's a homebird, and you see in the opening sequence, you see everything you need to know about those two characters at the opening scene in the airport. So he's on his way. He is constantly doing voice notes. My first was like, oh, not gonna like this character. He's a voice note wanker. I mean, the lovely Yaz at Q, where I work, I have always said, you don't need to start your own podcast. Just release your voice notes. That's it. Voice notes, or missed calls, possibly. Maybe it's phone them. And then we just see he rocks up, and Kieran Culkin's character is there already. It's like, I've been here for 2 hours. You see some of the best weirdos when you get to be here. And you're like, you're probably one of those weirdos. Because he just talks to everybody.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, do you ever get that where you're either on the bus or something and you're like, right, I've either earphones in or I've a book out, depending what, whatever you're doing. And then next thing you know, right beside you on an empty bus, someone sits down. You're my friend for this trip now, aren't you? And we're going to talk the whole way. I think the worst case of that for me was when I was flying, when I lived in Toronto at the time, I was flying back to from Vegas. And there was a fella that was trying to sell.
What happened in Vegas?
Stayed there. Basically, what happened the whole flight back, this fella tried to sell me some crap on a pyramid scheme, and about 10 minutes in, I was going, mate, this is a red eye.
Yeah.
I want to sleep.
You didn't turn into Cillian Murphy in that underrated Wes Craven movie.
Such a good film. No, he did try and stab me in the neck with a pen, though.
Good lad.
Actually would have loved if he did that, because he was just so annoying. And I was like, I'm not buying what you're selling, okay? And he's like, no, I'm not selling anything, and all this here crap. And then eventually, I just switched seats because it was an empty, like there was a few empty seats. I literally asked the stewardess, like, is it okay if I move to there? There's no one in that seat. And she's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then I kind of, the odd time would look over my shoulder and he just gave me the dirtiest looks. I was like, well, I want some peace and quiet.
I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't think I've ever had a kind of travel buddy. Maybe a couple of times on maybe the bus or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Or usually the travel buddy becomes, because I'm someone who, I love, when I was younger, loved travelling around Europe. Would have done quite a bit of, stayed at a few really dingy, horrible, nasty hostels. Some lovely hostels as well. Some have actually have been back to in later life, more recently in my 30s and 40s, because I'm cheap. And because I'm pretty much the person who, if I go somewhere, I'm going to be there pretty much out from the crack of dawn to the evening. It's literally just a bed to sleep. But yeah, I've had some encounters that way. But I know my lovely wife got propositioned to, when she was coming back, she was for work, she was coming back from the States, and a guy who had quite a bit to drink was caught smoking in the toilets, then sat down beside her and was like, here, love, you want to join the Mile High Club? And she was like, no. Well, that's what she told me anyway. She told me no. But anyway, we've got a very tangent there. So back to Jesse Eisenberg, Kieran Culkin, because I love the title, that sense of a real pain, because you can say Kieran Culkin's character is a real pain. The pain that each character has a real pain. It's an interesting choice, but I also think it's one of those titles, nondescript, that I could see imagine, like someone, if you're scrolling down at the list and you're like, what the fuck's that about? So I think it works once you've watched it, but I think when you see it, I think the title maybe suggests something else. Which, you know, it's a clever thing.
Yeah, from the outset, I thought it was like, oh, real pain. There's just, these two guys, they don't get along. They're just going to be constantly arguing and bickering along the way. And you do get that to an extent, but like you said, the real pain is...
Here's a question I want to ask, right? Here's a question I want to ask, because we're talking particularly about Kieran Culkin. And I think it's a very generous thing Jesse Eisenberg does, in that sense that this is his movie, his pet project. I was reading about it. The same producers involved in this as what's the Switch movie last year?
Oh, Zone of Interest?
Yes. The same producers in this were involved in Zone of Interest. Emma Stone is a producer on this. She's a producer on this as well. She had to convince Kieran Culkin to be involved. He didn't want to commit to the fact that he'd be away from his family for so long. And basically, Emma Stone did the ultimate passive-aggressive move, saying, look, if you don't want to be involved, it's fine, we get it. Family comes first, but if you pass on this, the movie dies.
Oh.
And he turned around, because Kieran Culkin, he seems to be, I think he's married, a bit like Jesse Eisenberg's character in this.
Yeah.
I think he's married, he has a young child at home. I think with Succession, he was being away for like 8 days at a time. So this was going to be away for 25 days. And he had to be convinced. But, I mean, they've talked about it. I mean, he makes the film and no one else could have played the role. I wouldn't go that far. No. I can't see, having watched the film, I can't see anybody else now. Maybe 20 years ago, I could see Philip Seymour Hoffman being all over that role.
Yeah, no, I think he puts his stamp on the role because, like you said, you haven't watched Succession.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that character from Succession. And, like, don't get me wrong, in Succession, he's a complete bastard, but there's a charm to him in the same way.
I think it seems to be, having watched him in interviews, he seems to be himself.
Yeah, that's it.
He seems to be himself, and that kind of almost mania, kind of manic kind of character that he has, like the fact he'll talk about this and talk about that. I think if I'm right, a bit like Anya Taylor-Joy, he has a photographic memory. I think Kieran Culkin.
Because there's that story from when they were shooting something in Succession, and he arrived on the set, and they're like, "Oh no, we're doing this scene today," and he's like, "Oh shit, I didn't rehearse that scene." So he like half an hour, he read the script, and then Brian Cox turned to him and went, "Wait, you know all that, right?" He's like, "Yeah, just that's how I learn." And typical Brian Cox, he's like, "God damn it,
you fucker,
fuck you." He was just annoyed because obviously he's this process.
Do you know what? The idea of someone have a photo? I don't. Now here's the thing: naive Jim time. I don't know if this is how it works. I like to think that because I have met, albeit briefly, and interviewed Anya Taylor-Joy, she remembers me.
See, I just want her to stroke my hair.
Yeah.
Like I alluded to in the last
Listen to in the previous one.
Yeah.
But I like to think that she will, I could, maybe in years to come, she could be here in Belfast for something she's been before, and I could get a chance to interview her and go, I met you in London. And she goes, I remember. And she wouldn't be lying.
She could very well be.
But anyway, once again, ding, we've went off on a tangent. So I wanted to ask you the question. So Kieran Culkin's character, we've talked about possibly playing the title A Real Pain. He's someone you love to watch in this movie.
Yeah.
But I think you would fucking hate to be with him in that tour group.
Oh, big time. Like, he's a compelling character, like someone you're drawn to on the screen. But, like, yeah, see if you're, like, planning a trip and they're frigging off in the middle of the night going somewhere, and then the next day you can't sleep because you're like, where are they? I'm worrying. And then they sort of blame you for being late, and you're like, fucking... yeah, we've all been in that situation, surely.
Yeah, we've all been in that kind of situation. We've all met people like him.
Like,
I know I
what?
definitely have.
Stag do's are the best example of
yes.
that. Yeah.
Stag do's, but also... in that sense, like, there's that sequence which it talks about kind of the way the humor humor operates, and the way I think it's clever, and it's not clever in a smug way, but it's just clever. So there's a sequence on a train where they are talking about, isn't this awful? Here we are in Poland, a group of Jews. That's just the way he puts it, or a group of Jewish people. Yeah. Here in first class, eating top class food. Isn't there something horrible about that? Isn't there something disgusting? I'm away to go into the back of the train to basically sit with the commoners. Jesse Eisenberg's kind of like, oh fuck, I have to go away. They go to the train. I think it's the clip that we use. They fall asleep, or he falls asleep. They wake up and they get at the wrong station because he didn't want to wake him. You're like, for fuck's sake! It's like, you knew the station. Just tell me. I have been in that situation with a group of people that I've backpacked with around Europe, and when they then decide, well, we'll do the clever thing. We'll just get on the train and go back. Then it's like they kind of he refuses to pay for another ticket because it's down with the capitalist system and all that. They end up in first class, and he's like, well, we earned it. And I swear to God, I sat watching this and like going, right, yeah, this is my kind of... I'm being completely unashamed. I love this. I really love this. And the fact that they kind of... Is it Chopin? The use of the music.
Polish composer, so it's perfect.
And it's so unfussy. There's just kind of that kind of what I would call, and it's probably a wrong thing, like a classic film festival film feel to it. It's like when they're traveling around Europe, you kind of see there's the kind of close-ups. They're looking at a statue. Then there's kind of this shot of that part of the statue close up, another part, but then it cuts back to them. It was a film I know. If I'd watched this in my 20s, I would just be like, this is one of the films that makes me love cinema. I know that's a bit gushy, but you want to go to Jesse Eisenberg and go, I want to know all about the influences that you had when you were making, or were you thinking about films when you were watching this? Because there's kind of a very classic European cinema look to it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think he captures that, like you said, through the sort of the stillness of the streets and the likes of Warsaw and that there. But it also leads to my favourite scene where they're at I think it's the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising statue. It's like a war statue. And Kieran Culkin involves everyone saying, let's all pose beside
apart
these
from
statues.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yes, and that's early in the film, and that perfectly establishes the relationship and how people perceive Kieran Culkin's character and how people perceive him as a character.
Because what I like about that sequence in particular, you have this sense, and again, coming back to people I know in real life, you get drawn into these you get drawn into these larger-than-life characters.
Yeah.
These loud characters, and you go, some people either instantaneously hate them. I usually find myself going, oh yeah, he's quite fun to be around. Fuck, you don't know what he's going to say next. And you see them being drawn up, and they're like, oh yeah, he's great. And there's that sequence where they're like, oh yeah, okay, we're all going to get up here, and I'm going to pretend to be a Spitfire pilot. I'm going to pretend to be a medic. X, Y,
he takes his scarf off and uses it as the bandage. Oh, it just had me in bits.
And
loved it.
Then as it goes on, as we start to realise Kieran Culkin's character, behind this loud, brash character, there is someone in pain, struggling to come to terms with the death of his grandmother. And also, whether it's alluded to, and this is where I'm not quite certain, and I know we're venturing into spoiler territory. There is talks about certain things that he did in terms of his mental health about 6 months prior. I'm not certain, is that before his grandmother died, or is that after his grandmother? Was that as a result of his grandmother dying, that grief and that sense of depression that culminated in basically, I'm kind of trying to tiptoe around it, and a suicide attempt?
No, I think it was maybe after, because the whole premise of them planning this trip was the grandmother left them money to do it. So Kieran Culkin's character earlier on says, it's hard to get a hold of you to do this here, because he's sort of, Jesse Eisenberg's character so locked in his family life and that there, he found it difficult to make time for it, and even like touching it. I was like, wait, you literally took a whole week off work, no work or anything, just for this? It's like, yeah. So I think it did take place after, but at the same time, that's what maybe prompted him. It's like, I really should do this trip from my cousin because this awful event. And it culminates in another brilliant scene where he's explaining the situation at the dinner table to everyone when Kieran Culkin's character's like at the
just
bathroom.
Becomes super obnoxious.
Yeah.
That's what I mean in that sense of, you see these people, they go from being drawn and enjoying this guy's company to being, oh, would he just fuck off?
Exactly.
And I guess you're the same. We know people like that.
Exactly. No, that's the thing. He can like draw you in, and you're like, oh, he's a great guy. It's great to hang about with, great to talk to, and then literally at the turn of a hat, you're like, oh fuck, he really is a prick though, isn't he? But at the same time, you understand why he's a prick.
He can do some belching.
Oh,
Fair play.
Yeah, you should have went easy on the Pepsi. Little Home Alone reference.
Yeah, indeed. Back to that. Yeah, there we go. There's a reference for the kids.
I was just waiting for it.
And I don't even want to kind of get into too much spoilers. I know we've ventured into some, but I mean, it does leave kind of a realist. I don't know how to best it. I like the fact that the film doesn't try to, because it's a road movie of sorts.
Yes,
it is a road movie. We have because they're with the tour group, then they venture off. They want to go off and see their grandmother's home where she lived in Poland. Then they come back, and we have a confrontation is maybe not the word to use, but a kind of chat between them two about kind of why that relationship has strained and what happened. That's coming.
Yeah, the frank talk with each other, essentially. Yeah.
By the time it reaches its kind of finale, it doesn't leave everything in a nice little bow.
No, and that's what I really liked about it, because part of me was thinking, as you're getting towards the end, it's like, I hope that this doesn't resolve, and
it makes it more special for the audience.
Yeah, not as a slight in Planes, Trains and Automobiles. I didn't want it to have that kind of an ending.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Because that ending's perfect for that film, but this ending's perfect for this film in that there is no real resolution. He's like, no, I'm gonna sort of hang about here. You go on with your life. I'll just try and figure out things on my own in a way. Yeah,
which I mean, it's a real credit to Jesse Eisenberg as a writer, as a director. I come back to that point that this is his baby, and he literally just lets Kieran Culkin just fill the screen. He's in any scene he's in, he steals.
Yeah, but that's the culmination of his performances in that last scene, where it's just his face. Like, for one of the rare moments in the film, he's quiet.
Yeah,
and it's just him in the airport sitting, looking around, taking in all these people around him. But then everything that he's talked about and everything he's gone through, you can see in that face and his expression and tics, because that's sort of the counter argument to people going, oh, he's just sort of playing himself, and he does play himself to an extent, but that's where he allows the subtleties in his performance to really rise, and that's why he's getting all the awards recognition he's getting through moments like that.
For me, so far from what I've seen, for best supporting actor, it's a toss-up, I guess, at this stage for me, for either Kieran Culkin or, and I apologise, the actor, again from Succession, who's in The Apprentice.
Oh, Jeremy Strong.
Jeremy Strong, who plays Trump's lawyer.
Yes.
I think
he was, Rob Cohen, isn't it?
Yes, Rob Cohen. I think it's a toss-up between those two from what I've seen, but that's the thing, when you realise, when the Golden Globes come around, you suddenly realise, oh, the amount of films I have that we haven't seen yet, that haven't been released, that might not even be released before the time the Oscars come out. I think.
That's
I think they will.
Because I've got tickets to the Brutalist on the 25th. So it's out at the end of the month, and then there's a Complete Unknown that's out soon, and I think there's one or two at the end of the month, but I don't think they're Oscar ones, like the new Mike Leigh film, and there's a new Steven Soderbergh film. But
Soderbergh's, that not the
Presence?
horror? Is that not
yeah,
the horror?
so
horror.
they're not going to regulate. Even if it was great, it probably wouldn't get the awards.
I'm intrigued
recognition.
by that.
So am I. That sort of point of view thing.
I saw the poster and I saw the trailer when my lovely wife and I went to the IMAX to see
nice to
Nosferatu.
I see Lucy Liu in something that's not just a check job.
Hey, we've all...
I'll hear, not a slightener. You know, if she's getting paid, she's getting paid.
We've all got to pay the
Exactly,
bills.
exactly.
Hey, maybe she'll turn up in Red 1 too, or Red 2.
Hopefully not. Because hopefully there'll never be a Red 2.
Who knows?
But who knows? Exactly.
Who knows? Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
There's bottles to be pissed in.
There's bottles to be pissed in, indeed. Joe, I know we're going to move on, and I thought, because as we mentioned, it's a road movie of sorts with a real pain. I thought we'd wrap up the show by talking about some of our own favourite road movies, however you want to interpret that. But I thought very briefly we'd talk about some of the movies that we have seen ourselves independently. One of the movies I know you've watched in the last week is Nickel Boys.
Yeah.
In just a minute, I'm going to ask you to set it up, what it's all about. But before we do, let's play a clip.
It's been a long wait for some good news.
Good news, good news, good news. Things is changing.
Nana, what is it?
I let you down.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Hell, I let you down.
No. No, I'm okay. I'm hanging in there.
Look back on it. Think back on it. It's a long time ago.
Hello. Where'd you come from? My mother's watch. A deck of marked cards. My big toenail. That's all you got? Really got nothing left to lose.
You don't remember?
Remember what?
You really don't remember.
Who's about to fall? You about to fall, L? Turner! Turner! This isn't the fight!
See, the problem is, Elwood, you didn't know how it works. It's now or never.
That's it, L. You're doing great.
We have to be like knights. Checkmate.
So that's a clip of Nickel Boys. Joe, for anyone, just tell us a little bit about Nickel Boys and what you thought.
Yeah, it's sort of a point of view story about this young black man in sort of around the time of civil rights in America, and he's basically in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he gets sent to a reformatory school for young men across America. But obviously there's segregation at play, so there's the camp itself segregated between the white boys and the black boys. So it's about his experiences and the sort of abuse that went on in this school, which is called the Nickel Academy. It's based on a real academy, but I can't remember the name of the specific one, and it's basically about all the horrors and everything that went on there. But it's beautiful at the same time, in that from the point of view, you see all these horrors, but at the same time, there's a lot of beauty drawn from it, because it's about how your memory catches little moments, and those are the moments you cling on to. Like you're going through hell, but there's a bit of a sunshine. There's a bit of remember the time you were with your grandmother, Christmas time, stuff like that.
If you're Adam Neeson, that wonderful summer was Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah, or when you had clean underwear.
Yes.
But no, not to dispel the film. I thought it's it'll be hard to beat for a film of the year already for me.
Okay.
I absolutely adored it.
So that's praise indeed for you.
Yeah, and I was very surprised because I thought the whole point of view, because that's the whole thing with the film, is point of view from the two characters, is the two boys in school. So you see sometimes a scene from one perspective, another scene from another.
Peep show, I guess.
Kind of in a way, yeah. Although I was listening to an interview with the director and he's like, I'd never heard of Peep Show until somebody mentioned it at the premiere. It is like that, but you might think, oh, it's a gimmick. It is in a sense, but at the same time, it's perfect for this kind of story, and it works brilliantly in and amongst it because it's sort of intercut with historical footage to give you a real flavour of the time and everything. Okay. But I loved it.
Okay, I know a lot of people have talked. I know a lot of reviews I've read about it because it was actually you actually mentioned, go see it. It's on my list, and I'm hoping to convince my lovely wife. I couldn't convince her to go see Nickel Boys. Last night I did convince her to go see Baby Girl.
Jim, you could convince me very easily.
Well, unfortunately, you're not my wife, Joe.
Not yet.
Not yet. Sorry, we've got a little confession to say. But I know, just very quickly before we move on from Nickel Boys, much has been made about a hug in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. When you brought it all back to me, I'm going to near start crying. Oh, it's a beautiful scene. I don't want to say anything about it, but that particular moment, the actress it's basically between the grandmother and one of the other boys. She can't visit her son at the time because her son's being punished for something he didn't do, clearly. And she was like, oh, I can't see him. I can't, give him a hug or anything like that there. And then she tells the boy, can I hug him? Can I hug you for him? And freaking hell, it's really emotional. But that actress, for me, she should be clearing Best Supporting Actress because anytime she's on screen, she just lights it up. There's a lot of tragedy in her eyes and everything that surrounds it because of the weight of everything that's happened to her in the past and how she's having to relive that in a way through her grandson who didn't do anything wrong, and he's going through the same sort of punishment, and she's bloody fantastic in it. I'm annoyed I can't remember her name. I'm going to have to find it, Jim, because she's just
you are allowed,
brilliant.
like Adam Neeson.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he can have it, an
IMDb timeout.
Yeah, well, I've almost got it, and I'm going to butcher the poor woman's name. So it's Anjanue Ellis Taylor. Apologies if I've said that wrong. She plays Hattie, who is the main character, Elwood's grandmother. She's absolutely phenomenal in film, and she should be clearing supporting actress, but who is the front runner for supporting actress at the minute?
I'm not sure.
Is it bloody Zoe Saldana and Amelia Perez or something like that?
I'm not sure.
Because I've seen clips of it and I thought, is this a Saturday Night Live skit?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
It looks rough, but I'm going to watch it all the same. It's the only way you can really judge something.
That is very, very true.
So I don't want to go in prejudiced with it.
So what I'm also going to do, Joe, I'm actually going to very briefly go back.
Oh yes, go back.
No, well, I'm very briefly going to go back.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, okay, so that's Nickel Boys, which you've seen. As I say, I couldn't convince my lovely wife to go see that. Next time, Joe, I'll send you a wee flirty text.
Hey, here, Jim, you don't have to flirt.
Yeah. Hey, Arspert, want to come and sit those sweet cheeks next to me in the cinema? I'm going too far. Too far, Jim.
You just have to say, here, you want to eat Nicole Kidman and a wee cup of milk?
Wee cup of milk, yes. So I did convince my lovely wife to go see Baby Girl. So before we get into talk about the film, let's play a clip.
You have 7 minutes.
10, I think. Thanks for making the time.
I was forced.
What?
What?
I didn't say anything. Why did you want to meet here?
You don't like this room?
No. I like the room. It's a nice room. It's got a nice vibe. I think that's soundproof, which is good.
If I were you, I'd hurry up.
Yeah, of course. Sorry. How did it start?
What?
The warehouse automation dream.
That is your question?
Yeah.
Google it.
No, I just wanted to hear it from you.
Why?
Because the internet's not reliable.
I wanted to automate repetitive tasks and give people their time back by limiting.
Power-hungry personalities?
You think that's what I am?
No. I think the opposite.
You think I don't like power?
No, I think you like to be told what to do. Sorry, I didn't mean to... Sorry, that was inappropriate.
So that's a clip of Baby Girl. It's directed by Helena Ryan. I think if I'm getting that right. I know she directed Bodies.
Oh, fun film.
Yes. So that was a lot of fun. That's where I come in from knowing her back catalogue of work. That's as much as of her back catalogue as I say. So of course she is the director of Bodies, which was out in cinemas last year, the year before.
Yeah, last year or two.
Yeah, a lot of fun at the cinema. I enjoyed it, and so that was what drew me in to come to see this. Of course, the main draw for many people will be Nicole Kidman, an award-winning actress. We also have Harris Dickinson, who has been in loads of stuff.
Aaron Claw?
Yes.
He's one of the Von Erichs in it.
Aaron Claw, and I think he was in one of the Kingsman movies.
I think so, yeah. Was it that latest one, the prequel?
Yes,
yeah.
The one with...
Ralph Fiennes?
Yes, as... I was going to say...
Oh, no, it's your other guy, resurface, who's Rasputin in it.
Yes, Rasputin. He's having a ball in that movie.
Okay.
Just a shame I wasn't. So, there we go. The weird thing about Baby Girl, I found, apart from all the S&M stuff, was the fact that Antonio Banderas, sexy Antonio Banderas, is now the boring husband.
Look how far we've come, Jim.
Does that not make you feel old?
Yes.
When he's now the kind of safe husband role that, you know, a bored housewife would be with, that she needs to go off. Because what was the film with Meg Ryan? Seduction or something like that many years ago?
In the Cut, is it?
Yes.
With Mark Ruffalo.
I'm nearly certain Antonio Banderas is in that.
I can't remember.
Look, I know, dear listeners, Antonio Banderas, apart from his Puss in Boots roles, and of course as Zorro, that's the only two roles that Antonio Banderas, and of course all the other... Desperado, yeah, I'll give you that as well. Rough Rada, no you don't know, I'm not going down that tangent. But Antonio Banderas is a sexy man. And you're just...
so.
Yeah, and you're just like, he's the boring husband now, who apparently, in this film, after even 18 years of marriage to the lovely Nicole Kidman and 2 children, he has never once made her climax.
Oh, Jesus.
I could not believe that, Antonio. Antonio would just need to look at me, and I'm there.
Whoa.
Oh, wow. But anyway, so... Oh.
Did it happen there? Did you see his picture?
No, it did. So, yes, he just needs to look at me, and I'll just be like, I'm there. Anyway, that's not the point. So here we have, in this film, Nicole Kidman plays a powerful CEO, a woman who gets things done. She tells people what they have to do. But deep down, she is someone who is into S&M, wants to be dominated, controlled, and in walks this young intern who knows how to push her buttons. There is a sequence, as we've mentioned and alluded to, I think a lot of people seem to be talking about, with Milk, which I just thought of George Galloway in Celebrity Big Brother when I saw that. Meow, meow, meow. But I was a bit disappointed by this. I think I've heard a lot of praise for the film, particularly Nicole Kidman's portrayal. A lot of people are talking and drawing comparisons to Eyes Wide Shut.
I was going to say, when you described that, I was like, that kind of sounds a bit like her character from Eyes Wide Shut.
There is similarities there. It's set around Christmas, just like Eyes Wide Shut. There's a lot of Christmas trees in around the film, and I just found it a bit underwhelming. I didn't expect it to be a steamy, erotic thriller, because I knew it was going to be something that's like psychological, and was going to be looking at kind of this character who seems to have it all, who seems to be a woman of authority, who's in a man's world has had to rise up to this has been able to rise to this position within her company, and deep down has these desires. I didn't believe their relationship, and I know the lovely Jordan, who I work with, one of the presenters at Q. She said she didn't think that. Let me get another little IMDb break here. She didn't think that Harris Dickinson was good enough looking, I should say, to have that kind of sway and that power over Nicole Kidman.
That's kind of fair when you think about it, right? Your husband's Antonio Banderas, and no offense to Mr. Dickinson, but like, come on.
He's a good-looking guy.
Oh, yeah.
But I never believed that relationship.
Okay.
But then maybe I'm not meant to. I didn't find it kind of... I know there's been people who've been put off by the subject matter and the fact that there's this woman of power who wants to be dominated and is secretly submissive sexually. That's fine. I'm not going to be a prude about it. I'm not one of these people who's like... There was a girl in the cinema. There's a certain sequence, not the aforementioned milk sequence. There's a scene in a hotel room. Their first sex scene.
Encounter?
Their first encounter. And there was a woman, she was a foreign woman. And I don't mean that in a racist way, but she wasn't speaking English. And she clearly, quite loudly, I don't think she reached climax. I just want to be clear on that. But she found it very sexy and was proceeded to kind of, mirth, blah, 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 whatever she was saying, that very kind of durka in true Jim and Adam Neeson style. That's all I heard.
I am neither of those people.
Yes, you're neither of those people, Joe McElroy. But she found it very erotic. I find it uncomfortable.
Okay.
And I think it's supposed to be uncomfortable. There's things with the film kind of near the end, it kind of hints at her childhood, which I always think is like, I think that's a bit of a side move in that sense. People who are into that, and I'm going to make it clear, I'm not into that, right? This is my lovely wife.
You know what, Jim? See those particular disturbing scenes? You're going to have to give me the time codes of those so I know when to skip them when they get released on home release.
It's not so much, it's the sense that there's a sequence near the end where she's talking to her husband, where certain things are revealed. And she talks about this, and he kind of said, well, maybe it's my parents, maybe it's my childhood. It hints at something, and you go, it's like the David Lynch thing we talked about last week. Not everything needs to be explained. If someone is into S&M, they can just be into S&M. I don't think they need to have triggers. And I'm not saying the film does, but it alludes to that. Also, for me, frustratingly, it plays with that dynamic because the submissive and the dominant, when we look at it, like, for me, the best portrayal of that ever in cinema that I can think of off the top of my head is The Secretary, which I love. I love The Secretary.
The Maggie Gyllenhaal film.
James Spade?
That's right, James Spader.
James Spader, not James Spade. That'd be a very different film.
James Spade. It's only part of...
That would be a very different film.
Yes.
I love The Secretary. I think it's a great film. But it's that idea because the submissive is actually the one that holds all the power. But in this film, it kind of hints at the fact that the dominant, this young guy, can still almost, if he wished, could blackmail her into kind of carrying on this relationship, which I just thought it was going to be a really clever kind of play. Here we have kind of twist on the 50 Shades kind of mummy porn, I guess is the only way to put it.
In a way, it sounds a bit like Disclosure in the way.
Yes.
In that respect.
In that sense.
Yeah.
But here we have a powerful woman, and I don't know. I didn't buy their relationship, and then I guess you're not really supposed to. And without going into spoilers, there's not much in the way of comeuppance for what happened. In the terms of, we talked earlier on with a real pain, in terms of a realistic resolution, it's the sense that by the time we reach the finale, okay, Nicole Kidman's had a few orgasms and she's drank some milk, but I don't think there's much in the way of, it's like, oh, okay, you're into that. Okay, I'm not really into that. I'll try it. It's not really for you. Here's this young lad. He's much more in it to me. At one point near the end, I actually thought it was going to end up with a kind of, what's the term, cuckold? Kind of husband kind of relationship. I thought it was very close to kind of venturing into that. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. But I don't know. I just left a little bit underwhelmed. Nicole Kidman is great. I can see why she's bringing interest, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
In the same way that, is it Normal People?
Oh, the Paul Mescal.
Normal People or Ordinary People?
Are you on about the film or the TV series?
TV series, Paul Mescal.
Yeah, Paul Mescal, yeah, it's Normal People.
Normal People. In the same way like that, you have a similar kind of thing going on in there.
See, I've never actually seen Normal People, but that's the dynamic that's in that show as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, hints of it.
Yes.
in that sense. But anyway, let's move on. So there's 3 movies this week that are currently out in cinemas. Each, I mean, I'm a bit down on Baby Girl. If you really want to go and watch it, I don't think there'll anyone come out. My lovely wife was not a fan.
Okay.
I was just left a bit disappointed in the sense that it maybe wasn't the film I thought it was going to be.
Did you want a Paul Verhoeven version?
No, I didn't want a Paul Verhoeven version.
I don't think you could get a Paul Verhoeven version
I
nowadays.
don't think a Paul Verhoeven film is what I want, but I still stand by those kind of basic instinct-esque erotic thrillers had more going for them than a lot of people give credit for.
Because stylistically, and it knows what kind of film it is,
and also
genuinely
strong women and weak men.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
Hey, that's just me. Nickel Boys, you've been very enthusiastic.
Film of the year, and it's going to take a lot to topple it for me.
And we have both been enthused about A Real Pain.
Oh yeah, it's an excellent film.
So on that note, bringing it back to that, I just thought very briefly as we wrap up, Joe, what are some of your favourite road movies that you would maybe recommend our listeners seek out for a bit of homework?
Okay, so like the vampire films last week, I have them down as a top 5 in no order.
Okay.
So I have The Straight Story, David Lynch film from 1999.
Forrest Gump on a lawnmower.
Forrest Gump on a lawnmower. Brilliant film. The Last Detail, Jack Nicholson film with... It's Randy Quaid in it, or young Randy Quaid.
I think so.
They're basically escorting him to jail, so it's like a road. It's a road journey in a sense. There's like your last night, and this is how you're going to enjoy it. Whatever. Film was seen for the first time last year with Catherine. It Happened One Night. Frank Capra film from 1934. Absolutely loved it. It's understandably timeless because when we watched it, we laughed. You know,
we
cried. We, had a flutter of fancy and blah blah blah. No, brilliant film, absolutely brilliant. It's easy to see why it's a classic. Another one, Paris, Texas. Loved. It's one of my favourite films of all time. Harry Dean Stanton gives one of the greatest performances in any film ever. And number 1, no surprise there, it's a favourite of Adam's as well, Dumb and Dumber. Can't beat that. Although we were discussing as well, what's the criteria for a road movie, and you did mention one, and it's like one of my favourite films, Mad Max Fury Road. I viewed that more as a chase film than a road movie, but it kind of does follow the road movie dynamic. It's one of those things, Jim. Like, how do you define it? Is it this? Is it that? But like I said, when I was drawing this list, I went into Wikipedia under road movies, and it is there technically. So yes, it is a road movie, and I would put Mad Max Fury Road up there.
Okay. So I didn't do mine in a top 5 because I literally said to you this about 2-3 hours before we started. We did this last week, a top 5. We should do it again. For me, the one that is going to be the one, and I've been looking for an excuse to rewatch it. And it's a film I absolutely love. It's the Reese Witherspoon movie Wild, with where she plays. I think it's Cheryl Strayed. I've read the book, or I've read her autobiography.
Is it done by the director who did that show Big Little Lies?
Possibly.
I think. Yeah.
Possibly. I'm a big fan of that film. I always kind of like those type of stories. And maybe that's why I like A Real Pain, in the sense that it takes people, and in the past I've used the term, and I know it's not the right term, that are maybe damage would have been the term I'd used before, or have had issues in the past, in the sense... I know I've used the phrase in the past that they've been damaged in a way. That's probably not the correct term now in 2025 if you were discussing that. And they go off on these journeys, these journeys of self-discovery. They don't come away completely fulfilled, and all their answers, all the questions they're seeking answered, they just find themselves in a little bit of a better place with a little bit more understanding of who they are and why they feel that way. And that was a film I loved. Took me completely by surprise. Was press screened at the Dublin Road, RIP. Went to see it and sat there as a blubbering mess. Yes, I'll admit, having not watched it for quite some time, there is a terrible CGI fox I could have done without.
Yeah.
I could have done without. Other ones kind of verging into very different territories. We have Little Miss Sunshine as well.
Oh, yes. It was like my honourable mentions.
A great road trip. Almost Famous was in there. I know we screened a few years ago. Kind of just absolutely love that kind of chronicling the classic kind of Rolling Stones era. Brilliant film. Then maybe go for something a little bit different. You went with Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, yeah.
What about Road Trip?
See, I'm worried about going back to Road Trip.
Unleash the fury, Mitch.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Charlie's Angels. I was going to say the Chad, but no, it is Charlie's Angels. You know what, back in the day, I did love Road Trip. I'm afraid to go back to Road Trip, especially, given how certain things have probably aged like sour milk.
Yeah, but you've got Steve Stifler in it, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, there was never anything problematic about him at all.
No. One finger, make it two.
Oh, yeah. Or French toast.
Yeah.
See, I'm thinking about it now. I was like, maybe I'll go home and watch Road Trip. No, it is. For the time I watched it, I enjoyed it, and I had a good time, and it looked like a fun trip in a sense.
Yeah, there we go. I rewatched it not so long ago, and it still makes me laugh. But I think I do have the rose tinted glasses. A friend of mine, Ryan, just looks like the kind of geeky, nerdy character. And that sequence where they go to the frat house, and it's the all black frat house, and he ends up dancing.
He gets his girlfriend.
Yeah, he ends up dancing. I guess for me, it's just a sense like that's my friend Ryan up there dancing. I have vivid memories of him kind of reenacting that in Thompson's.
Well,
many years ago. But hey, that's a podcast. That's a discussion for another podcast. So I think those are good. I think those are good movies. Yeah, I'm sure there is more serious.
Badlands. Midnight Run. Didn't mention it. Great film. Robert De Niro and Charles Gron. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, there's a.
You're not a fan of it, eh?
No, I am.
Okay. I thought you were going, yeah.
Just for the soundtrack. The soundtrack often comes on in my car.
Well, we mentioned Planes, Trains and Automobiles.
Yes.
It's a brilliant one. Although another Farrelly Brothers one, Kingpin, is it technically a road movie? Because they take your guy from the Amish farm.
A road movie
to the bowling tournament.
It's a road movie.
Yeah. There's a shit cloud coming. Love that bit.
I milked your cow. We don't have a cow. We have a bull.
Took the horse's shoes off.
I'll go brush my teeth.
Oh, brilliant.
Woody Harrelson in that film, comedic gold. Bill Murray in that film.
No, Bill Murray lets his hair do the acting in that film,
yes.
And it's bloody brilliant.
There's a film I haven't watched in a long time.
I really want to watch it again.
You pulled a real Munson. So there we go. I think those are all good choices. If there's anyone out there who wants to suggest any, send us a little voice note. You can find the number on wherever you get wherever you subscribe to this podcast. You can send us a little message and get in touch, and you can say what road movies you think we've admitted. Maybe someone out there will go, why didn't you mention Cars, that classic Pixar movie? Go back and listen to Adam and I talking about Cars too. Yeah, everyone loved that pod.
Does Con Air count?
I think that's
stretching it too far.
That's stretching it.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking Nicolas Cage, there's Wild at Heart.
True.
That's kind of a road. It's David Lynch's road movie meets The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz is a road movie.
So it is.
The Wizard of Oz. Maybe Wicked.
I haven't actually watched it.
Less much so. There's a sequence where they get in a train.
That's I might leave Wicked until Wicked 2 comes out and just watch one the night before.
6 hours of pure joy.
I don't know if it's going to be joy or not, but I'll figure it out. I'm willing to give it a chance, put it that way. I'm not going to be one of those...
Has Catherine watched it yet?
No, she loves the musical, but she hates the idea of the film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get Catherine to send us a little voice note about why.
Maybe.
But
I'll
she
check
won't.
in with her.
She won't.
She'll be like, no. She's always like, the films are your thing. You do that, and I'm happy enough. Because there was a times I think we floated the idea of having her on before.
Well, she's been on the stage.
Yeah.
Award-winning photographer, I believe.
Yeah, she's won a few things. She just had her stuff in Victoria Square.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But yeah, she's kind of like, no, film's your thing. And it was like,
she's like Peter Parker. She lets her camera do the talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hiya, Catherine. What about you? And that one time I once got your name wrong.
You know what? Of all this time going out where I haven't once slam my fist on the table shouting, bring me pictures of Spider-Man. I really should.
You're going to do it tonight?
Yeah, and she's going to be like, what? You all right?
Well, you're going to be on next week, so you can let us know how that goes.
Yes.
And more importantly, next week, we're going to be talking about Saturday Night. I know Adam, last year, he was able to get a hold of a screener for it and has reviewed it, but we're going to be talking. Adam's not here, although I'm sure there's going to be another voice note. You've got that to look forward to.
But there better be.
There better be. No pressure. I'm still disappointed he hasn't interviewed Beetlejuice for us.
No, maybe he's saving it for this last one before he comes back.
I just think he's all talk.
Maybe.
Anyway, that's us for this week's show. Thank you for listening if you've got this far. As always, if you've enjoyed it, particularly if it's your first listen, be sure to leave us a nice review wherever you get your podcasting fix, because that's something, I always hate this bit, it's something free you can do that helps us with the algorithm to help more people find this madness. You can also find a back catalogue of our episodes on YouTube, wherever you get Spotify, wherever you get your podcasting fix. The TV show is hopefully going to be back in February, around the time awards season really kicks off, when it gets into the BAFTAs and the Oscars. None of that fucking Golden Globes nonsense for us.
Am I going back to Hollywood?
You're going back to Hollywood, indeed. Still one of my favourite things we ever did. But hey, that's enough of that. We will have to wait and see if we're sending our correspondent. Yeah, if the budget is there, if NVTV will allow us to have that budget. But yeah, TV show's hopefully going to be back in February. You can find the old episodes of that on our YouTube page. And just generally have a little trawl through the website. Hopefully going to be announcing some stuff for the Dark Hedges. Going to be doing a few bits and bobs, a few more quizzes, possibly a few one-off screenings for a selection of a showcase of shorts, and also we'll be announcing when we'll be looking to receive submissions for this year's festival. So that's pretty much enough of me trying to sell my wares. So Joe, once again, thank you very much for stepping in and sitting in for the lovely Mr. Neeson.
Yes, thank you for having me, Jim.
Great show this week, and thank you for listening. We'll be back next week, but for now, until then, goodbye.